Unless you go out of your way to avoid all news and media, then you would have heard about Qatar. But why does it exist, and how did it not get taken over by its larger neighbours? To start, Qatar is a small peninsula in the Gulf that recently hosted this little thing you may have heard of called the World Cup. Oil and gas is the heartbeat of the country's economy, and it consistently ranks as one of the world's wealthiest nations per capita, although pretty much all tiny nations claim to be the richest when you look them up. Qatar's history is mostly about small, independent villages adapting in a region constantly growing in geopolitical significance. In the 1730s, the powerful Al Khalifa tribe moved from Kuwait to Zubarah in Qatar's north and built the town into a major pearling centre. The town was only a quick sail away from Bahrain, which was in the hands of the Al Khalifa's nemesis, Persia. Having become the most powerful tribe in Qatar, they wanted to add to their own security by taking Bahrain. Long story short, they annexed Bahrain from Persia in 1783 and still rule the island today. The problem with winning wars is keeping your allies happy afterwards. Sadly for the Al Khalifas, they fell out with an ally who could both fight and hold a grudge. Rahmah bin Jabir al-Jalami was one of the most feared warriors in the Gulf and soon became de facto Qatari leader. Like some politicians today, he was more driven by spite than a desire to actually improve stuff. And his alliances changed depending on who had the best chance of beating the Bahrainis. He often allied with the Saudis, as they claimed control of Qatar during much of the 18th and 19th centuries. But he was also on friendly terms with the British. While more entrepreneurial pirate than king, he almost terminally undermined Al Khalifa rule on the peninsula. But this meant Qatar suffered from a lack of government and certainty about its status. This was a problem at a time when the British were establishing relations with regional leaders and looking to end piracy and slavery in the Gulf. Well, that was the official line anyway. In reality, they were more interested in limiting the power of the Emirate of Diriyah, also known as the First Saudi State, and safeguarding Oman, due to its crucial position on the way to India. Qatar was not a party to a historic 1820 British peace treaty that established the Trucial States, later to become the UAE, and which also included Bahrain. It's alleged Qatar was also a Bahraini protectorate at the time, but Qatar's ships weren't told to fly the distinctive red and white flags of peace. This confusion came to haunt Doha in 1821, when the British randomly turned up and started levelling the village. The Qataris were getting punished for a violation to a treaty they never signed. Gradually, the Gulf became increasingly peaceful. Saudi control collapsed after 1865 due to succession squabbles. But Bahrain still claimed sovereignty over Qatar, even though it neglected the peninsula beyond Zubarah. This allowed Mohammed bin Thani to unify Qatari tribes as he laid the foundations for a proper state. In 1867, a snowballing of tensions led the Al Thanis to defeat a Qatar-based Bahraini army. The Al Khalifas responded by allying with Abu Dhabi in a last attempt to reassert their authority. Poor Doha was flattened again, but Britain eventually stepped in and recognised Qatar's independence with the Al Thani dynasty as Qatar's monarchy. In 1872, Qatar got increasingly worried about its neighbours and agreed to become part of the Ottoman Empire for safety. A new emir, Jassim bin Muhammad Al Thani, took power in 1878 and quickly got annoyed with the arrangements. The Ottomans were equally frustrated at Jassim's refusal to be a puppet governor. The Qataris won a decisive battle in 1893 to win the political autonomy they wanted. A resurgent Saudi state eroded Ottoman rule in the Gulf by 1913. Despite ending their sovereignty claims over Qatar in a 1913 agreement, Ottoman troops wouldn't leave the peninsula until 1915. This was both good and bad news for Qatar. Good because the threat from the Ottomans was gone. Bad because only a lightweight agreement between Ibn Saud and the British was stopping the Saudis from annexing Qatar. The Al Thanis wanted to keep Qatar separate and became a British protectorate in 1916. And the Brits made sure they had all the security they needed when oil was found in the 1930s. In 1968, Britain announced it was leaving the Middle East and urged Qatar to join the United Arab Emirates. It politely said, "I'm good, thanks." And in September 1971, Qatar's independence was declared by Emir Ahmed bin Ali Al Thani from a villa in Switzerland. Qatar's economy and soft power really took off in the mid-90s once Emir Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani toppled his father in a bloodless coup. He sought to invest Qatar's oil and gas revenues into infrastructure, education, sport and culture. He also wanted Qatar to forge an independent foreign policy, which irritated Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and the UAE, who liked to be on the same page about stuff. They were particularly annoyed about Doha-based Al Jazeera, the Arab world's leading news organisation, Qatar's improving relations with Iran, and the country's support for political change across the Middle East. The Saudi, Bahrain and UAE monarchies saw this as a threat to the status quo and severed relations with Qatar between 2017 and 2021, which ironically made the country more self-sufficient and independent. Thank you very much for watching this far. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing for more geopolitical history. See you next time.